We see flight all around us, whether it be the birds in the sky or, depending on where you live, bats flapping through the dusk nights. However, flight's occurred more than just this, so today we're going to explore the 5 times that we know flight has occurred in the fossil record. We're going to start this by looking at the most recent time that flight took place, and that's going to be in bats. The earliest bat fossils we have come from the early Eocene period, and these fossils are already very well developed for flight. Shortly after this time period in the Eocene, we find other bat fossils coming from Europe and America, showing that they were already very diversified and spread out across the world. And so the exact origins of bats aren't exactly known. However, we know that some proto-mammals and mammals had gliding abilities. Because of this, it becomes likely that bats evolved from species which resemble the flying mammals of today by expanding their patagia, which is the gliding membrane, across the hands and spreading it into a wing. The next most recent flight would be the Scansoriopterigids, a group of dinosaurs that learned how to fly without using feathers for their wing. In 2015, Yi Qi, a member of this family, was found to have an extension from the wrist, which was bone-like and supported a membrane. Because it wasn't bone, this hasn't been found in other species related to it. Before Yi Qi's finding in 2015, it was proposed that other smaller species, such as Epidendrosaurus, may have flown this way, with the membrane coming up the arm and then the rod growing out of the wrist in order to enable powered flight. Moving to something more familiar, we have birds, and some non-avian dinosaurs. The first long flight feathers we have come from Kaihong Juji, a small para-avian dinosaur that lived 161 million years ago in China. Archaeopteryx lived in Europe 150 million years ago, 10 million years after Kaihong, and from its study, we know that it had at least some ability to fly. A recent study used powerful X-rays to image the bones that are embedded inside the rock of Archaeopteryx's fossil. From this, they were able to take measurements and found that Archaeopteryx had a flight pattern that would likely resemble that of something like a modern-day pheasant, as a short burst flight just to help it kind of get up into trees rather than long, powered, sustained flight. The study also suggests that the flapping motion of Archaeopteryx would have evolved from the grabbing motion of raptorial dinosaurs, and then just been adapted to help with more vertical takeoff due to evolutionary selective pressures. However, I do also chuckle at the fact that one of the earliest known flights that we have for birds seems to have flown like an awkward chicken. From the same German formation as Archaeopteryx, we also get our first pterosaur. Pterosaurs were unique because of their very specialized flight mechanics. This first species being named Pterodactylus for this mechanic, with ptero meaning wing and dactyl meaning finger. Pterosaurs likely grew out their wings from the same kind of membranes that gliding animals had for bats and the Scansoriopterigids. However, rather than growing out the membrane between the fingers or growing out a rod to help support the wing, they instead extended their pinkies to support the majority of the wing for flight, meaning that as long and as big as the arms of a pterosaur look, most of it's just a pinky. A very powerful pinky. Unfortunately, as pterosaurs evolved immediately after the Permian-Triassic extinction, it becomes difficult to understand exactly where on the tree of life that pterosaurs came from. However, it's currently believed somewhere between dinosaurs and species like Scaromochlus. Finally, the earliest group to develop powered flight, one of which may be bothering you now: the insects. Insects took flight during the Carboniferous period over 350 million years ago. A major question on the evolution of flight in insects has been, did the wings evolve from the sides of the animal or from the back? One study last year sought to solve this by looking at larvae, both extinct and extant, alive today. From this, they found that both sides are at least partially right, with certain parts of the wing coming from the sides and certain parts coming from the back. This evolution led to the spread of these species across the new rainforests and swamps of the Carboniferous, and to help them to avoid predators, such as the many large amphibians that evolved during the period. Additionally, it led to the four-winged insects that we know today, including beetles, who use their forewings as hardened plates to help protect their main flying wings. And so from this, we can understand that there was a single progenitor of all flying insects that existed sometime in the early Carboniferous. From this, hopefully you've learned how flight has evolved 5 separate times in our fossil record, and just how unique of an adaptation it is, with so few families actually being able to evolve flight. However, with a weak fossil record in many of these species, it's important that we get out there and look for fossils in the modern day so we can continue to understand how evolution works and how evolution might affect us in the modern day. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I do want to apologize for not getting out some of these videos. We are getting them slightly more intermittently as schools just begin picking up with midterms and then going into finals. I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks, so it's just important that I'm able to keep my studies ahead of the channel. Remember, fossils are a natural resource that we need to make sure we maintain so that we can study them. So go out there, find some fossils, but be safe. Don't go extinct. Take care.